Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Red Wine and Cigarettes. So we're not going to pretend the topic wasn't advertised as something different. Tonight, the topic was supposed to be the gender divide, Black love in crisis, but our guest had load shedding, which is a normal thing in South Africa. Found out 20 minutes ago. And we feel it's really important to have this conversation with him. So we decided to change the topic and call our very good friend Shingai to join us on the platform. Welcome, Shingai.
Thank you very much. How you guys doing?
So tonight you're with me, Popo, Malindi, Sibs, and Shingai, and the topic is now rules of engagement. So what is rules of engagement? Basically, it's the games we play, man. It's when you're feeling someone and you want to text them all day and you decide not to text because I was the last one to send the first text. You know, you now need them to be the initiator instead of the reciprocator. It's when you feel like you want to tell a person, I love you, but you're like, I'm not going to be the one to say it first. You know, that's what rules of engagement are. We just thought that this was a topic that we can probably all relate to. Maybe we're not there at this point, but I feel like most of us have probably been through it. Sibs, what are the games that you have played within relationships?
I think the one that you mentioned first, which is the I'm not going to SMS or I'm not going to whatever, is one that I've definitely played where I go, yo, 11, and this person still has not WhatsApped me good morning, and the morning is going to finish. But I'm not WhatsApping either because I was the one that said good night. So I've definitely played that. Another thing that I think is a rule of engagement is this thing where we know that we want a relationship with someone, and then we tell them something like, it's fine, we can just have a casual something. Meanwhile, in your head, you're like, but I want a relationship, but this is the one way I can lure this person in. I think that's a game. That's a game because you're not being straight up and you're not being truthful. So you're playing a game to get something at the end that the other person doesn't know that you're doing.
Shingai, do guys play these games too? I know women play these games. I'll tell you now. Like, she'll jump on the girls group and be like, listen, I'm feeling this guy and I feel like maybe I want to surprise him, but what do you girls think? And they'll be like, nah, don't do it. Do guys also have this navigation within their relationships where they're playing games and kind of for control, making certain decisions?
Yeah, look, yeah, but I think it would be crazy to not have an approach where you do play some sort of a game in this day and age. It maybe translates as that, but if we put it the way you did it, right? You asked, do guys sit back and have a conversation, an objective conversation about should I do this and do that? Yeah, so guys do that, but I don't consider that to be a bad thing.
You don't consider it to be what?
Say it again.
You don't consider it to be what?
I don't consider just sitting back and assessing the situation and trying to put the pieces in their place and just sitting back and saying and thinking about what's what and what the right thing is to do. I don't think that's playing a game. I just think it's a natural posturing of engagement with anyone in this world. So I don't think that's playing a game. But I mean, so far as games, I think one that Sibs talked about was the one of trying to lure someone in. I think as guys, we naturally have to play that game, and especially for myself, the game doesn't necessarily stop at the rejection. So I think that if you are going to pursue a woman, that is gamesmanship of some sort. And I think I think to rise up to women on a different dimensions. I think it just does require you to probably engage in a way that you normally wouldn't as a guy. So I don't know if that's gamesmanship or not, but it's certainly thinking about what to do next and what not to do next.
Yeah. What do you mean women are on a different dimension? What do you mean?
okay, I would not, if I was trying to converse with a woman, I would not converse with them the same way I would converse with guys, right? I would probably be more cautious of what I'm saying. I'll probably not try to be as callous as I typically am. I'm a man's man, so I speak normally, joking, making fun of someone, on purpose. I mean, some of the conversations I have with guys would be pretty traumatic to some people who aren't used to guys speaking in that kind of way. But I would not be able to engage women in the same I just would not be able to engage women in the same way. I can't put the word on it, and because I can't do that, it immediately puts me into the frame of mind of, okay, then what's the right thing to do? What's not the right thing to do? Should I say this? Should I not say that? And I think that's natural gamesmanship, and I think it comes with the game of dating. I think. I think.
Okay, so there's the saying that that I think the whole world observes, that it's always said that men are hunters, right? And a lot of the time, as women, I think that maybe, okay, basically what I'm trying to say is, where do we draw the line between game playing and allowing a man to take the lead because it's what he was built to do? I think there's a fine line between a lot of these things. Lynn, where do you think the line is between we're playing games and this is me demanding a certain standard? This is me being honest about what I can and cannot accept. This is me being honest about what I want, because I think the line is blurred there. Like what do you think?
Wow. The line is definitely blurred in those situations. I've been in many of those situations as a person who's 37 and has been dating for yonkers forever. So I've found that growing into yourself, you kind of need to ask yourself, what do you want out of this? The people that you like at various degrees. You won't always like everyone, as in, I want a deep, meaningful relationship with you for a really long time type situation. So you need to be honest with yourself in regards to, what do you want from this person? How far does your attraction go in terms of what your expectations are? And just be honest and free enough to communicate that, and believe that you're allowed to communicate that, and they need to be able to tell you what they want as well. And if you have the same goal in mind or the same feelings or mindset, then take it from there and decide where you're going. And if you don't, then unfortunately, it's either you decide, where I'll be honest with you, I'm not perfect. I have allowed the go with the flow situation when I didn't want to go with the flow situation. I wanted a relationship with the person, but like Sib said before, like, you kind of like, I want to kind of lure the person or show them who I am and show them that I'm an amazing human being to be in a relationship with. That doesn't always end so great. Like,
no, it usually doesn't end so great, and I think that stance is problematic. And this is not me saying that I've never taken that stance. I've definitely agreed to a go with the flow situation, thinking at some point he's gonna see how amazing I is. And unfortunately, in those situations, you generally move from, how do I put it? Even if he's single, if you're just kicking it, then he still gets a girlfriend, and maybe you graduate to side chick. Right? Maybe you graduate to side chick. Wait, Sips, you wanted to say something? Okay, guys, those who are watching, please drop your comments. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to engage with those, because we are not the be all and end all of all things, the topic we're speaking about. Sips?
My problem is games, right?
Yeah.
As we're talking about luring in, and then you lure the person in. As females, and I've seen this happen, and I think also as girls, we pump each other, ne? We pump each other. And also we watch how other people's timelines work. So Popo was in a relationship, she got lobolad at whatever thingy. We set ourselves up for these games of timelines and of things and of points that people have to reach within the relationship. That's also games. Where girls will be playing games to get married. I find that the older I get, the less it's happening. I think my age group is just going, oh, okay. But girls that are, let's say, mid late 20s, early 30s, are playing those kinds of games where they're pretending to be someone that they're not, to be wifed. You know what I mean? That for me is dangerous. It's dangerous. It's something that I've watched where rules of engagement is going even deeper and further than just little things that, oh, I'm not going to phone him, I'm not going to whatever. It's, oh, I'm going to behave in this way so that I can get this goal, which is this, so that I can get, someone was saying that for them, their ideal thing would be to meet a bag. You know what a bag is, right? A guy with lots of money.
Oh.
A guy with money. So to meet a bag, and then pretend to this bag that they are this specific type of girl or whatever it is. So the bag marries them. And then they were talking about push presents. And then I want a push present. Yeah, push Cayenne. And those for me are rules that girls are talking amongst themselves of engagement, of how do you get a bag? How do you do this? How do you do this to get to this? I think that's dangerous. I think it's very, very, very dangerous. It's another level of it goes further than just, I'm not going to do this because I want him to behave in this way. I don't know.
Yeah. I find that really sad though, because first, I'll get back to you, Shingai. I don't find that super sustainable, because how long can you pretend what you're not? My dad used to say something to me. He was like, the problem, let me do it in his, he'd be like, the problem with women is that you give the guy the script. He was like, you talk too much. You literally sit there and you're like, I like a guy that's attentive. I like a guy that's this. You give him the whole thing, right? And then he's like, no problem. And he acts accordingly, right? He acts accordingly, and you find yourself in a place now where you are in love with him. And then he becomes himself. You know what I mean? So, Shingai, do you agree that men do this? You'll say what you wanted to say, but do you feel like, one, women tend to give away too much too soon? And two, do you believe that is something that men sometimes manipulate to get what they want? Because they have the information. They're just like, cool, I don't even have to think. I don't have to dig, because she's given me the blueprints.
So I don't think it's a men versus women thing. I've come across men that do that. I've also come across women that do that. So I think that's just an individual type of thing. Some people are pretty forthcoming in relationships, and some just aren't. And I don't think that's a function of a gender function. Yeah. But there was something Sid was saying early on. It just seems okay. So in my mind, right? Look, if I'm going to put myself out there, right? I need to protect the turf around me. Right. Yeah. And I don't know any other way in which one can do that other than something that's equal to gamesmanship. So other paradigms I know are like war games, like the art of war. Like I like the art of war, right? And the art of war, if you were to go to it, it talks about 4 specific things that to me are the essence of anything you do in this world, right? It says you observe, you measure, right? Then you plan and you engage in anything. It said it sets it in context of war, but then it applies it out of war to everything. That's why it's out of war, right? So to me, that makes sense. In anything you do in life, I would imagine you want to sit back, observe it, and then say, okay, fine, to get to a good outcome of this thing, I have to execute in this way, then you do it, right? So, to me, gamesmanship is just a natural, almost thing in any engagement with anyone, if your objective is to get to just a good outcome and say, okay, fine, well, this person has to do it this way, then do so. Do so for their sake. Almost like being in service of the person. So, but it now seems like we live in a world where, putting yourself at disadvantage of other people is like the last thing that people want to do. It's like people go in with the worry that they're going to get played out, and especially women, I guess they go in feeling that if they give that inch, that they're going to get abused or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think gamesmanship is so bad, and I think it's natural.
Sips?
He said what I was going to say, that last sentence. From everything that he said, it sounds to me like rules and games of engagement are not such a bad thing. It's just, I suppose it depends on how. They're not a bad thing. They might even just be what relationships and how things work, because you don't just jump into something and you're like, what were we saying earlier? It's just like, oh, we'll just see how it goes. No, you set things out and you go, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And as people, that's generally how we work anyways. So these games that we see might not be a bad thing, because also this whole thing of I'm not going to phone or whatever it is, it may be a game, but you're also teaching someone when they call you eventually and they say, why haven't you called me? You're like, how? But I've been phoning. Like, I've been phoning. You need to do your part. Does that make sense? So maybe it depends on how then you carry on with this rule. So if you say, I'm not going to phone because I'm the one that keeps on phoning, I think it's important to follow it up with when they say, why don't you phone? Yeah, because I keep on phoning. I'm tired of being the only one doing that. So maybe we need to switch it and go, okay, we need to also put a lesson within this game of ours for the person, especially if you want to be in a relationship with them. Because generally you don't play games with someone unless you want to be with them or you want something from them. Otherwise you would just leave it. You wouldn't care. So I don't know if Kate, at the beginning of this conversation, I thought the word games made it also go, oh yeah, it's a bad thing. But is it not just us doing arts of war, and planning and going, what's my move? Are we not just playing chess here and being strategic about what we want? So Shingai, thank you. I'd never thought about it in that way, to say that maybe those games are just strategy.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think you need something to know someone, and unless you're going to tussle with them in some sort of dynamic game or whatever, you need that. So maybe game is the wrong word, but you just need something in which you interact and then gauge, like, okay, fine, this is how to do this, because you can't just do things the normal way you did things, like two people back. So I don't know.
I don't know, guys. I hear you. Your points are valid. In terms of there needs to be a strategy in order to get to where you need to get to. But I really struggle with having to. I almost feel like the rules of engagement, the games within the rules of engagement, or whatever we're going to call them, put boundaries on what I want to express to the person I want to express it to. I might meet someone and I'll be like, I really like this person, and we click and the chemistry is amazing, and I want to be able to express that. And I feel like then when I have to now start observing protocol of rules of engagement, then I feel like, okay, I need to hold my feelings back. And I need to be like, oh, I can't pour myself out. So now I need to be like, oh, when last did he text me? Can I text him back? Oh, when I texted him, how long did he wait until he texted me? Then when he texts, and I'm like, oh, he waited 5 minutes, so I must wait 10 minutes. I'm just like, that's absolute crap. Like, I'm just like, I want to feel free, whether it's something long-term or short-term, to be able to express everything I want to express at that moment. And is that so wrong? Is expressing yourself such a wrong thing? And I feel games are just, I feel like games limit you in whatever phase you're in your life. And I feel like you've lost the opportunity to be your complete self and pour yourself out with the person you want to pour yourself out with at that particular time. Whether they receive it or not is irrelevant. It doesn't minimize or devalue what you felt or who you are. They're just not ready to receive it. And then you kind of need to then decide, like Sibs had said earlier, okay, they're not reciprocating. So then what's my next move? What then do I do when they're not reciprocating my feelings? Do I move on? Do I then decide to stay and kind of go with the flow? What makes me happy? What do I want out of it? I really don't think I personally subscribe to the whole rules of engagement, and that's come with age. Like I said earlier, I'm not perfect. I did try to do it before because I thought that was the way I needed to do things in order to, how do I put it, be malleable and be what the other person wanted. But right now, I'm really just like, F it. Like, if I want to be with you, I want to be with you. If it's a thing and we're kicking it, then we're kicking it. I'll communicate that. If I don't want to be with you, I won't. So basically, I'm saying I don't believe in games or rules of engagement at all.
Okay, I think that maybe this is something that can be confused. There's a difference between, I think, it's my opinion, you guys can agree, disagree. Remember I was speaking about gray areas. There's a difference between rules and standards. Whereas before, I think that the two are expressed from the place from which you operate, right? I think games come from, yes, Sibs, I'll get you, come from a place of insecurity. I think that standards come from a place of being clear, right? So whereas before, I wouldn't text you because you didn't text me first. Now, I'm at a place where I observe and I'm like, okay, I'm observing now that you never text me first, you never initiate. So then I step into observation mode. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to text, not because I'm texting you and I'm thinking, hey, what are you gonna think if I text you first? I'm just like, I need to be clear about where you stand. So I'm not going to text. I'm not gonna text and I'm gonna see what happens. So where do we draw the line between the games and really just standards? Sibs?
Sorry, I had my hand up because both Shingai and I didn't hear the second. You said rules and then we lost the word standards. Yes, which we then got. So that's why I had my hand up. But I agree with you in that you play games and then when you stop playing the games, you go, oof, okay, now what are my standards? What do I want for myself? This is what I want. Right? So let me just wait and see if what I want is what I'm getting. And if it's not, then I know I need to make a decision. But the only way that you can do that is to then maybe, as you say, yes, step back and go, wait. And at that point, you're no longer playing games. Because when you're playing the game, you go, oh, okay, you're interested in this game. You're like, okay, and then he called, and then you look and you go. So after a while, you actually get tired and you sit back and you go, okay, you know, whether this person does or not, because I know what I want. And if they don't do it, and if they don't do it enough, I'm good. And you've told them, these are my standards. This is what I want. And if you're not doing that, get sharp. Games, you don't tell the person. You don't tell the person when you're playing games. When you have your own standards and you know that this is what I want, you tell them, these are my rules of engagement.
Absolutely.
For instance, for me, my rules of engagement are at least 3 times a week, I need to see you because I'm a person who wants attention. And if you don't give me that 3 times a week, and if I'm chasing that 3 times a week, then I'm going to sit back and go, why am I chasing this 3 times a week when this person doesn't want to give me this 3 times a week? Does it make sense? I'm no longer playing the game because I've told you what my standards are. I've told you what I want from the relationship. And that is not, I think, a game. Now those are just my standards of engagement, what I want within the engagement.
Yeah.
And it's fine to have what I want. I can say what I want. You can say what you want. And if it doesn't suit each, if our things clash, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But it's fine for me. I think women forget to express what they want, because sometimes guys will turn back and say, it's about you all the time. You want. Yes, I can want. You are getting there. That's why you don't say anything about what you want, because you're getting.
And I think the difference between the game player and the person who has standards is that the game player does not communicate. They don't communicate. Literally, the only people they're communicating to are the people in their ghost group who are helping them lie to themselves. And the person with standards is communicating with said person that they're in a relationship with and saying, listen, I'm not happy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I have observed this. I am not happy with this. Can this be amended? Can it not? Based on your answer, let's see where we're going.
Yeah.
Shingai, what do you think?
So, you know, I'll be honest, I did hear what you say, but the point I actually want to make, and I think it will lead to this, is this. So I have a mentor who he really encourages a different way of looking at people. And when I was just thinking about what you would think about this conversation that we're having, right? Yeah. And his whole approach in life is that, unfortunately, in this world, no one is perfect, right? So so when you're already painting it as if you have a dynamic where you have a game player and a non-game player, he would say to you, that's rubbish. Everyone plays games, right? And it's all based on the notion that, unfortunately, no one is perfect. Everyone oscillates between perfect and bad, whatever you want to, good and bad, evil, good, whatever, right? So, and moreover, because that's the nature of everyone that you interact with, that you must accept it when it happens.
Yeah.
And learn that if you still want to get to that objective, you must accept this personality, which is different from that one, and then cater your reaction or your words for that. Yeah. Right? Now, from the way we're framing things, it sounds as if, now thinking back, I'm thinking, well, I guess it is a form of gamesmanship, right? But okay, I think that gamesmanship is deployed in, again, the service of someone else saying, okay, no, I want a good outcome, so I'll treat them in this way. Right? Yeah. So again, in that regard, I don't consider gamesmanship to be a bad thing. But then the same mentor lets me know that those observing things in the very same way. So you know that's a virtuous way of taking that moment. You could take it the other way and be like, hey, well, I'm observing this person, and they do this thing, and I want to use it against them, and you can do so. You have the choice which way you want to go, right? So again, you know, just this painting, you know, scenario that you have a game player, you have a non-game player. I think that's I personally get the feeling that is not true. The times where, looking back, I realized that I was playing games as well when I didn't think I was. I just think it's a part of human nature to deal with anyone. You have to, you always have to be on alert as to, okay, fine, this person, I've committed that I'm going to try to go in a positive direction, which I think should be the direction in any interaction with anyone. That I want to get to a positive place. How do I get there with this personality? But then again, you can. Sorry. Anyway,
That's okay. Please share your views and your comments with us down below. We'd like to get your opinions on the subject. Linz, you wanted to respond?
In response to what everyone has said, especially what Shingai said, maybe there's some of us who are kind of like aliens when it comes to relationships. Like, we have like really bizarre ways of reacting and acting in romantic situations. I honestly don't believe that I have the right or expectation to possess anyone that I feel I like or love or desire or lust after. So I might have a feeling, and I don't believe that just because I have this feeling that you need to reciprocate. And from what everyone has been saying, what I'm understanding is the games come in when I feel like I need to get a reaction out of you that kind of is at the same level, on par with what I feel. So if I want to make sure that Shingai reciprocates my feelings. I need to play this game to kind of keep him hanging, keep him on a thread, keep him wondering what's going on, what's not happening. I'm trying to be elusive. I'm trying to be mysterious. I'm trying to be like, I like you, I don't like you. I like you, I don't like you. So then you need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's some of us, and I'm speaking for, I don't know if it's a large amount of us or a small percentage of us, who are really just like, no, like, I like you.
Yeah.
Whether you like me or not, that's your decision. I have no expectations based on my feelings. I like you. I don't need to possess you. And I'm not expecting you to like me back. But this is what I'm communicating. Therefore, I'm not going to play games. So I'm communicating that. And this is the standard I've set. I like you at this level. What do you want in return? And if we're not compatible, like Sibs mentioned earlier, then we part ways. And that's fine. I'll be okay with that. I will be fine with the fact that I liked someone who did not reciprocate the same emotional desire or energy towards me. Does that make sense?
I hear you. Let me tell you what I find a little bit problematic with what you're saying. I don't believe that there are any two human beings who were created such that they just automatically fit together perfectly. I think that there are a lot of things where we'll find synchronicity, but I think that in being fair, there are some things that I think it also has to do with your belief in the next person's intention.
Yeah.
If I believe that your intention is to be with me and to be good to me, and you do something and I'm just like, I'm only observing, I'm not feeding. I don't think that's fair. I think as much as I'm observing, I also need to take a step forward, and you may be doing something that irritates me or that's a deal breaker for me, and communicate that to you. And I'm not imposing your reaction or your response to that. Maybe you're just like, I'm not about that, I can't help you. But maybe you're like, oh, I didn't know that about you. I'm sorry. Maybe that person doesn't even know that that's offensive or that's something that you can't deal with. That's merely them being themselves. You know, so I don't think that it's responsible to just sit back and be like, I'm only observing. And it's either we fit or we don't, because I don't think that there are only two human beings that just fit. I think that sometimes we need to be practical about that navigation. Sibs, I'll get to you. Linz, then Sibs.
Okay. What? Maybe I didn't communicate it properly. I'm not saying that I would be the kind of person that observes. What I'm saying is I'll be the kind of person that expresses my feelings completely.
Okay.
However, without having to impose that you need to reciprocate the same feelings.
Okay.
And there, when you don't reciprocate the same feelings or the same idea or the same vision going forward, then I'd be like, okay, so we don't have the same vision going forward. What do we do now? We can part ways because my vision and your vision are not the same.
Okay.
Does that? Yeah.
We're basically saying the same thing.
Pretty much.
So,
we're all saying the same thing. Because I don't believe, Linz, I completely agree with you. I don't believe in these games. I don't believe in luring and then her and then luring and then her. It's never worked for me. It doesn't work. It doesn't. I mean, I understand that there's a chase, right? That men have to chase. But within that chase, it does not mean that I'm turning myself on and off and on and off. Meanwhile, when I know what I want from you, which is to be in a relationship with you, why would I do that to myself? Because I want to be on for you. So I completely agree that the game part of on and off, we as women, maybe we need to stop that. Be on if you're on. Don't be off, because on and off. I think that's what we're we're struggling with at the moment, because we're always trying to be different, so that the person goes, oh wow, it's a chase. A guy can chase you whether or not you go on and off. Even if you say to them, I'm into you, he can still do the chase. And the chase might involve different things. I'm not sure what that is, because I'm not a guy. I don't think like a guy. I don't know how these chasings work. Generally, when I hunt, I shoot, get my prey, I eat it. But I don't know how guys hunting thing works. So I don't know. I think it's useless. Maybe also at my age, because I feel like I'm getting older and older. But this on-off thing, and I'm trying to lure you in, and then I'm pushing you away. It's tiring.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how it worked in the 20s, because I was in a relationship all of my 20s. So I never went through it. I'd love to find out from, maybe you guys can say as well, how does it work? Like, did it work?
Yeah. I'd like to respond to that. I can only speak for myself. I used to play a lot of games, and because now I'm 35, 36 this month on the 20th, accepting gifts. Thank you. I know exactly why I was playing games. I was playing games instead of communicating and setting standards, because I was afraid of being left. I just saw trauma. I'm like, okay, if I communicate this thing, he's probably gonna dump me, which is ridiculous to me right now. I'm just like, if my communicating this is gonna end the relationship, is gonna end anyway. You know, at this point, I'm at a place of, if it needs to be communicated, it will be communicated, and the outcome will be the outcome, because it was going to be the outcome anyway. You get what I mean? But as a person who, I played games, guys, I I was just like, okay, who texted last? Who called last? Who initiated last? Okay, now I can't. Now, you know what I mean? But that literally stemmed from insecurity. I didn't trust and believe that I could communicate to any man that I liked, loved, wanted to be with, without him leaving me, because I had put myself in a position where I felt like I needed to be everything that he wanted me to be, and completely divorced myself from what I needed and what I needed him to be, or what I needed him to offer.
Wow.
You know, and that's my truth. I don't know that it's everyone's truth, but that's my truth 100%. I'm not there anymore, but I remember being there. Shingai.
So I'll share some tales with you. So I would say the most significant relationships I've had in my life, the very first thing I had to do, I had to step back and figure out how to game the situation. And all those relationships took me at least 6 months. The longest one took 3 years to get the woman. That woman eventually became my fiance, by the way. Right? I didn't get married, right? Yeah. So when people talk about games and shit, you know what? I'll be honest with you. There's times I figured out, okay, fine. You know, with this woman, you're just gonna have to fall back. You know, sometimes even like inaction is gamesmanship. Even giving space is gamesmanship. Even giving someone time to figure their time out is gamesmanship. Those are tactics I've used before. And then sometimes, and then I don't lie to you, sometimes, even with the most significant relationships I've had, it's been as simple as I'll say, okay, fine, you know, I think I've given this woman too much attention, and I think she's getting carried. I'm being honest. We're speaking honestly. And tactics I've used is step back and don't give her the attention, and it's worked. It's worked pretty well. I've had a pretty good success with it. So again, I think sometimes this gamesmanship thing, it's, you know, it's not such a bad. It's just a thing. It's a tool to be used in this dating game.
Yeah.
And sometimes too, I had to use gamesmanship in order to turn a situation that I knew was a game into a more serious thing. Like I had to play the game to let the person. That's what I had to do to get along, to get them to a serious place. So you know, again, the gamesmanship, I look at it as just something that sometimes you have to make a decision whether or not you want to engage it. But it's a part of life. Because again, going back to what I was saying, I think everyone oscillates between, silly behavior and good behavior. You just have to go along with it because people are people.
Yeah. Sips?
I'm listening. It's interesting when he talks about the give someone a bit of a break.
Yeah.
My current relationship, he was after me for 2 years.
Mm.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? And I think to an extent, I don't know if it was games that I was playing, but I went on this date and he went all out.
Yeah.
And then I blocked him the next day. But he continued, he pursued for a while, and then stepped back and just watched me on social media. And then when the time came, pounced. So it's interesting. It's very interesting that was I being played or was I playing? You know what I mean? Now I'm sitting here like
levels.
I'm confused now. I thought I was playing a good game here. What Shingai is saying is that I've been played a good game. So that's what I'm just
saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying imagine your personality. Imagine you at the table. I would have to cater for the fact that you might be coming at it with everything you've just said. I think as a person, if you're not accommodating for the fact that this person lives in their own world, sees things their own way, and just sitting back and saying, okay, fine, how do I make it work? Then you've missed the opportunity altogether if you're living in your own world.
Yeah.
That's all. So, and again, I don't consider that gamesmanship. I just consider it just observation and just reaction to the reality, given where you want to get to.
Wait, I'd like to comment. This has now become a conversation between the four of us, and we are neglecting our viewers. Can I read a comment? So Tembiso Twala says, rules of engagement can be used to guard against vulnerability. That is, I don't want to be texting first all the time and look desperate. He or she must text first also to show interest. Guard against rejection. I completely agree with that. And I think we all agree with that. I think, do we all agree with that? It's fine if someone disagrees. Shingai, why don't you agree?
Because I think a rejection is part of the game. If you have any part of your strategy that's worried about rejection, then you shouldn't be in the game. Or rather, you are not. I think you're already an impediment to yourself if you're worried about rejection.
You already what?
You're already making things difficult for yourself if you're doing this and that because you're worried about rejection. I think rejection is a natural part of the game. You just need to decide what it is you want and shoot your shots. That's.
He said, you are already an impediment to yourself. That's what he said. He said you are an impediment. In other words, you've shot yourself from the foot already. Like, you already have issues. Like,
yeah.
Shingai.
And Shingai, she's like, I heard that, Po. I think that fear of rejection is one of the main reasons why people be playing these games. And no. And that is the truth. Like what I was describing earlier of where I was when I cared. And I was just like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to observe and hope maybe things get better, but not say anything, because if I say something, he might leave me because I don't want to argue with him.
I think also, I feel like I've basically responded to some of the things in terms of fear of rejection. I just didn't say it was non-fear of rejection, but the whole concept of wanting to possess someone simply because you feel a certain way towards them, and the expectation that they need to reciprocate that is what makes you end up falling into the trap of playing games. Whereas if you're comfortable with who you are, and I'm like, I love Sibusi, I'm attracted to her, she's amazing. I'm gonna tell her how attracted I am to her, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
Whether or not she reciprocates is really none of my business. If she reciprocates, that's great. If she doesn't, I then need to establish what then is my plan going forward. I can't expect her to reciprocate. So I think in terms of rejection, I think we need to understand our sense of self-worth. That rejection does not in any way diminish our value or who we are. If you know who you are and you express to someone, this is how I feel and this is what I want with you. If you don't want this, it's fine. I will then remove myself from the situation because this is the standard I want.
Yeah.
If you can't meet me at the standard, then that's okay. You have the right to not reciprocate.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's where games come in, when we're like, we want the other person to reciprocate. We expect them to. But when you know who you are, then you're just like, if you don't, you don't. It's okay. I can't expect that. Fine, I won't feel great for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, dependent on how much I felt for you. But that's fine. It doesn't devalue who I am, you know?
Sibs, I'm giving you 45 seconds because we're already out of time. Go ahead.
Okay, so I hear you, Lynn, but it's very hard for people to deal with rejection. Not everyone is strong like you. You know, you're a strong Black woman. I know that. It's very hard for people to deal with rejection. I am going to say this out loud, have never been rejected. I don't know what I would do if I was rejected. I think I would die if I was rejected. Not die, but you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh. When you're talking now, I'm like, what would I do if I was rejected? I don't think I'd be able to handle it. So I need to empower myself with tools about what would happen if I were to get rejected. And most of us don't look at that and go, what are my tools if I do get rejected? If my little games don't work, right? Because we use the games because we're scared of rejection. So we need to empower ourselves and go, if my games don't work, what am I going to do? And most of us don't know what to do with that because we're not expecting it to fix. So, yes. And then also, I know we're finishing off. It's important to have standards of engagement. So we talked about rules of engagement and the games. Put standards down. These are my standards of engagement. If we're going to be in this engagement and engaging with each other, these are my standards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I know that if you say you can meet them, let's work. If you say you can't meet them, you can, bye. Boy, bye. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, darling. I want to read one more comment before we wrap up. Moachi Sieta says, the advantage we men have is patience, and we don't easily get discouraged by rejection. I think that's him just agreeing with Shingai. Guys, here's the thing. As much as the genders would like to have been built differently, I mean, the same, we're not. We're built differently. You know what I mean? I'm definitely shoot your shot girl. I'm definitely that girl, but I cannot staying power the men. I don't have the men's staying power. I don't have it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of women don't have it because really men were built to be chasers, you know, but I think what this conversation has revealed is that, you know, there really is a fine line between games and standards. Guys, standards are okay. Games generally stem from, they generally come from a person who's not confident enough to communicate what it is they want and need. You know what I mean? And there definitely are people who play games. I think most people, let me not say everyone, because that would be generalizing. Most people go through a phase where they are playing games. You know, they're playing games. They're trying to manipulate the system and get what they want without directly communicating, because as we've spoken about, fear of rejection, as we've spoken about just being afraid that the outcome isn't going to be what they want it to be. There are people who fear relationships ending because of the embarrassment that comes with that, perceived embarrassment, because I'm not sure, you know, because wow, it happens all the time. You know what I mean? Personally, relationship ends, it happens, guys. They will keep ending until one doesn't end, and then hallelujah.
Yes.
Popo's now permanent on whatever that means. Guys, we're already on like 50 minutes and it was meant to be 45. Thank you so much for your input. Honestly, I'm not sure what next week's topic is. It may be the topic that was meant to be tonight. A topic I feel is very important. Basically, just the gender divide, the misunderstanding between men and women, specifically Black men and women. That's the premise from which we speak because it's what we understand. You know, it's heteronormative, but we cannot speak on people who are not heteronormative because that's not the premise from which what we understand. So join us next week. We'll be speaking about that, or we'll be speaking about our first sexual experiences and how those have affected the way we navigate sexuality and the health or the harm in that. I'm not sure right now, but either way, join us next week. It's going to be lit. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your views. We want to engage with you. Red wine and cigarettes. You all thought it. We said it. Good night.
Right.
Good night.